East Stroudsburg University Warriors outdoor track and field as the Warriors get ready for the PSAC championships Thursday, Friday, Saturday at Millersville. Head coach Joe Koch, head coach Chris Merli, and the Warriors coming off the indoor season in which the men were the runner-up, the women were fourth. Last year outdoors, the women were second, the men I believe third. So this is another conference championship at ESU, looking for a very nice placement in the conference. How do the Warriors stack up on the men's side, Joe?
Well, that's a great question, Greg. I would say Shippensburg is a prohibitive favorite. They won it last year outdoors, and they won it indoors this year, and they won by a pretty good margin. After that, there's 3 or 4 teams, depending upon how the meet plays out, who's still standing at the end of the meet, and so on and so forth. Probably realistically, any of those teams could finish second. We're going into the meet, I think, fairly healthy for the most part. Kids are performing well, so things look good for a successful team performance.
Coach Merli, on the women's side, you had 3 PSAC champions during the indoor season, and you return all but 1 scored from last year's outdoor team. Obviously, you have some women who have been in these competitive situations and have performed extremely well.
Yeah, and again, like Joe said, we're about as healthy as we're going to be. On the women's side, we lost Devin, only scored an high jump last year, who scored an high jump for us last year. Liz Madden did not compete for us last year. She was injured. She's here. We have a pretty good freshman in the triple jump, which we didn't have anybody in that last year. Still have anybody in the 400 due to an injury, but Colleen's available for relay duty. And, again, you hate to give it to shit, but I mean, I don't know if they're prohibitive favorites this year, but I would say they're the favorite. And then it's Kutztown, Slippery Rock, Edinburgh beat us indoors, and us in the mix, I guess, and any of us could be second through fourth. If things go our way, Danny is pretty much in the same position she was last year. Danielle Smith, third or fourth on both lists, and she hasn't run the 100 really since Virginia. She ran out her home meet. She was coming off being banged up. So I mean, she's going to be there. Anything can happen in the 100 or 2 is another story. I think she's ready to surprise a few people. And we have last year we had 1 woman in the pole vault. We have 4. 3 of them are jumping really well. So that's something we can look to score in. So I mean, I anticipate us doing as well as last year. If that gets a second, that depends on other teams too. Edinburgh's stepped up their program a lot. The depth that we do in some of the throwing events and things. So, but Kutztown is certainly vastly improved, and Slippery Rock's always there. We always have a target on our back when it comes to Slippery Rock, and likewise.
Joe, during the indoor season, you had the men's 4x4 relay that you won, and then a number of finishes that you were second, third, fourth, to put together the team points to get the number 2 finish. Going to the outdoor season, is it more of the same?
I'm not quite so sure. We do, Greg, have somebody qualified and will be competing this weekend in every single event, which is pretty impressive for the team and the program. I would probably say we do have a couple individuals, if they really perform well, have a very legitimate shot at winning a conference title. But I guess if we are going to take a run at second or get a little closer to ship, we're going to need the depth, and those second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth places really do help us out and matter.
Obviously, some things can change and affect performances during the regular part of the season, and the seed list isn't always the true ranking of who the favorite might be. But on the seed list right now, which is all you have to go off of, Damian Boehm's number 1 in the 400 right now. Frank Fezza, number 3 in the 10K. Woolberry second, and Seth Bailey third in the high jump. You got Travis Toth 2 in the hammer, and you got 2 of the top 3 in the javelin, and Matt Tolis and Josh Hans. I'm sure those are guys in particular that you feel like have a shot.
Yeah. With our conference being so large with so many teams, there's a lot of depth. So most of the events, it depends on what event, but the majority of events, you can probably go down to number 4 or 5 on the list, and those top 4 or 5 people could realistically win the event, you know. So if somebody has a great day, or, you know, somebody leans a little bit better at the finish line, has a better second throw or whatever, and it makes a difference. But it is kind of neat, you know. Two events I'll mention real quick that really stand out in my mind as being extremely competitive, both at our conference and national level, would be the men's jav, where we have last year's national champ thrown against Josh Hans, who was runner-up for us in 2011. We have another, our guy Matt Tholis, who was All-American last year. There's another couple more All-Americans. And just to put that event in perspective, this morning I was looking at the Big East results. Second place, which is the most competitive track comp, D1 track conference in the East, is 198 feet. They placed was second place at the Big East. We have 6 guys in the conference throwing over 200 feet. The other event that really intrigues me is the men's 800, and I mean that's going to be a war. No better way to put it. There are probably 7 or 8 guys who could win it and have a shot at going to nationals. In all my years here, I'm not going to say how many years, but in all my years here, I don't think I've ever seen the 800 this competitive at the conference meet. I mean, our guy Mike Saporito is having a great season, and he's right now, I think, 4th on the list or something like that.
Exactly.
In the majority of years, he would have won the event. So, I mean, those 2 events, there are a lot of good events at the meet, but those 2 are going to really be fantastic.
Coach Merli, on the women's side, as you mentioned, Danielle Smith, right in the mix, number 5 right now on the 100 and 4 in the 200, but you know, ready to open it up this weekend. Lauren Ventrella is number 3 in the 100 hurdles. She's up to number 5 in the 400 hurdles, so that's a double for her. Corinne Fitzgerald ranked 1 in the steeple. Christine O'Connor, indoor All-American, number 3 in the high jump. And then Elizabeth Madden really starting to turn it on the hammer. So, you know, you have, again, the same as the men's side, number of athletes who expect to do really well, and you know, what are a couple premier events to look forward to?
Well, the 100 hurdles, you know, there's no dominant, well, you know, the young lady from Ship and the lady from Edinburgh, yeah, that run pretty quick. There was a question of some wind-aided things that slippery rock this week is not a question, it just happens sometimes, so we'll see. You know, I mean, Lauren's ready to go. 400 hurdles, she's taken a second. The last 4 times she's run, she's taken a second off her tire every time. It's really the first year she's worked in that event. So we're still, you know, I think Saturday she realized, you know, we realized that she can do something a little more earlier in the race. So I think that's she's game. She's a competitor. You know, she's also on her 4x1, and she's going to be, you know, standing on her 4x4. You know, on both the men's sides and the women's side, not so much on the women's side this year, but, you know, I like to point to our athletes' ability to come back and compete on the second day. I mean, we have 3 guys in 100, I think. Maybe one, maybe 2, maybe all of them make the final. That's a long shot. 4 guys in 100, actually. But in the years past, you know, just like Danielle last year in the 200, we come back the second day, and she didn't have the fastest time in either event going in, and we come back the second day ready to go, and so we're ready to roll. And you know, we're going to ask a lot of Damien in the 400. I mean, he's running on our 4x8 this year, which is a new event in the conference. Friday evening, and he's going to have to, you know, run the trials of 400 prior to that, and then come back and finish that. So we ask a lot of our kids, but usually I don't ask it if there's a number of kids I didn't enter in 2 events because they're young or they're not ready to do what we ask them to. So.
You mentioned the relays, and last year outdoors you won the 4x1. Obviously, Ian Melhorn was a big part of that. You got replaced, but you bring back Brandon Mercer, Keith Parker, Washington on that relay. On the women's side, you just set the school record and have the top time. You know, currently on the seed list in the 4x1. Indoors for the men, you won the 4x4. You were 2 in the 4x8, 3 in the DMR. You know, so you know, it seems like ESU Track and Field every year puts together extremely competitive relays on both sides.
Yeah. there's a lot of exciting events in our sport, but the relays always, are very, very exciting. The 4x1 relay is the only time all year long I see Coach Merli nervous, okay? So if you're looking for him during the 4x1 relay, during the meet, he's up at the top of the stands pacing back and forth and whatnot. But it is so close with those relays, just a little
They put your eye the
hesitant,
wrong way,
yeah,
and
exactly.
because you got to be on.
Somebody will catch you. The 1 year we did lose a 4x1, our men have been fortunate to have a nice streak going here the last 4 years.
3 out of 4.
The 1 year we did lose, I think we lost it by 2 100ths, or
2
1
100ths
100th of a second, basically a lean at the line.
Yeah.
So that's the way that really.
Yeah, it's nerve wracking. I tell people they're up there, and I'm like, last year I was even like moaning, and because I like to get up high, you want to see it, and I said, I've watched 4 kids be born, and this is the most nerve wracking thing other than that, because you never know. It's in the fate's hands when that gun goes off. You just hope they just respond.
For the national list, at this point you have looks like 4 athletes who are on the safe side of making the national field. Obviously, Matt Tolis is automatically qualified in the javelin. Josh Hans is number 8 right now, just had a season best at Lock Haven. Travis Toth right now number 11 in the hammer, and Corinne Fitzgerald looking for her 3rd straight trip in the steeplechase. I know you guys don't think much past this weekend, but as you do turn the page and look forward to Colorado Pueblo, it's very nice to have this number of athletes right now on the provisional list and 1 automatic so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think we took 3 outdoors last year, so we have 4 definites, like you mentioned. For the people who aren't real familiar with it, real quickly, there's an automatic list that if you hit that performance throughout the season, you definitely participate or compete at the national meet. And then there's what's called a provisional list, where the top people on the provisional list also advance to nationals. Generally speaking, the field size will be about 20 people per event. That can vary a little bit depending if you have multi-people in the same event. But I think historically we've always had 1 or 2 people who have a good day at the conference meet and punch their ticket, in this case to Colorado. So yeah, it's probably realistic to think that we'll have 5 or 6 people. If we have some good performance at the conference meet, the weather's good. Yeah, we should have 5 or 6 people going, which would be a nice way to finish the year. Yeah. But first we have to take care of the conference meet.
Yeah, I mean it's all about the PSAC. I mean, we try and preach to the kids all year. You can't worry about your performance. You got to worry about. You can't worry about the nationals. You just got to worry about going through the process of your event, getting ready for it, and then you compete and see what happens.
Just take us through the conference schedule real quick. Thursday night, maybe 1 event to highlight, and then as you get into Friday, obviously a heavy day and a lot of the prelims going on.
Yeah, Thursday's the first day of the multi, being the women's heptathlon and men's decathlon. The first 5 events for the men, first 4 events for the women, and then they have 2 finals at nights, the 10K races, which is the longest race on the track. We have a couple women who placed real high last year who will be in the mix this year. We're not exactly sure what we're doing with the men yet. We do have, one thing unique with this meet is we have guys who are qualified in some cases 4 or 5 different events, but realistically they're going to do only a couple events and really focus on those events and do their best. So we're not exactly sure, but we'll at least have 1 or 2 guys in the men's 10K. And that's always a very unpredictable event or race. Yeah, it
really depends on what other a lot of strategy goes into this. That's why we're not mentioning names, because the entries are due tonight yet. So, who's going to run what, other than the obvious things. But, Thursday and then Wednesday, we have, on the women's side, we have Naya, who's a first year and a half, and Teresa, who was a veteran last, this is her 2nd year doing the event. And they're in good position, and they were scored. Their score was from Virginia, which was 6 weeks ago, over 6 weeks ago, and they've done some individual performances that are, if they put them all together, it's going to be, I don't know, one of them can win it, but they're going to definitely improve their spot. So, I mean, we're looking to make some noise in that event on Thursday. Friday's all trials. There's some field event finals. Probably got Keith in the long jump, back to where he was last year. That's always a wide open event. You go there. There's no prohibitive favor in that event. You never know what's going to happen. People foul, people get nervous. We'll see. And you got to get, Fridays, you get your work done to set yourself up for Saturday. Get people in the final, the more bodies you get in the finals, the better off you're going to be. Women's vault is Friday, and women's high jump also, so.
About 2/3 of the finals are on Saturday, and about 1/3 are on Friday, so the meet kind of builds from day to day.
Friday, you have a 5,000 final, and
in the evening.
And the new 4x8, which will be the concluding event on Friday night, which is nice for our conference to have that.
We had the athletic award banquet on Sunday. Obviously, your team MVPs and coaches award recipients aren't announced until after your whole season is complete. Just take a moment and maybe mention 2 or 3 names of people who are kind of under consideration. But I know a lot of them have already been been mentioned. But it's nice to highlight individually some of your athletes who have had outstanding seasons.
Well, I mean, at the awards banquet you mentioned, Greg, we had, I think, 4 seniors of the 9 people from our entire athletic department nominated as Senior Athlete of the Year. In addition to that, you got a guy who just jumps in my head is Travis Toth and Damien, who are underclassmen, who, like you mentioned, will be fighting to win conference events. And maybe there's somebody in there I forgot, So to just identify 1 or 2 or 3 people is really difficult.
Well,
to
Keith
do.
Parker Washington, he's key in 4 events for us.
Right,
I mean, he's seated high in the 2. I mean, a long jump, if he has a day like he did Saturday, he'll score. And he's really a key component on 2 of our relays. He really sets up the rest of our relays for us. He runs the second leg.
We have another senior, Kyle Soden, who we didn't even mention, who was conference champ last year in the high jump
indoors.
And got 3rd indoors in the hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's a good I guess situation to have.
Yeah.
Being that we just mentioned 8 or 9 guys who probably realistically have the potential to be our MVP.
Yeah.
For the women, you had the 3 indoor champions in Daniel Smith in the 60 and the 200. Christine O'Connor in the high jump, Liz Madden in the weight throw. And certainly we'll see what gets added to that this weekend. Anybody else that should be mentioned?
Well, I mean, again, I'll jump off on what Joe just mentioned. Yesterday we had our awards banquet, and there were 7 women for finalists, and 3 of them were our ladies. You had Lauren, of course, playing field hockey. You had Lauren, Rosie, and Corinne. And they're going to do some multiple events at the conference meet. Besides their specialty. And again, Lauren's in the thick of 2 hurdle races, and then key part of both of our relays. And then, of course, Danielle was a sophomore, who's our school record holder. I think she was our MVP last year. You have an All-American high jumper who's game. She's healthy. She's going to compete. Waiting for one of our. We have 4 pole vaulters, 2 veterans. Actually 3 freshmen, and then Laura. Laura's had some. She's been banged up a little bit, but I mean she's game too. I like to. We could make some noise in an event like that. And we have Liz Madden. She's only, she's still banged up a little bit, but she's gonna be in the hammer. We scored nothing in the throws last year, and we have a sophomore in the discus, who could, if she does which, if they do what they did to get in, they're gonna be fine. That's usually the way it is.
All right, Warriors on another great run of the last, really decade or so of track and field, and obviously ESU a strong track and field tradition. So. Last couple of years especially, a lot of run-up finishes for the men. The women runners-up last year out the way, and we'll look to put it together again this coming week at Milledgeville. So,
thanks, Greg.
Thanks, guys. Best of luck.
Thanks.
And, we'll look forward to following all the results.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.